Elias Vance, a culinary dropout with a perpetually weary expression, stared at the nutrient paste in his bowl. Beige, tasteless, and utterly devoid of inspiration, it was the perfect metaphor for his life since the accident. A freak kitchen fire, a burst gas line, and then nothing. He'd woken up in a sterile hospital bed, his sense of taste, his entire life's passion, gone. The doctors called it gustatory agnosia. His tongue worked, his brain simply couldn't interpret flavor. It was a chef's worst nightmare. He was meticulously documenting his daily intake for a support group when the world imploded, not with a bang, but with a shimmer. The walls of his cramped apartment dissolved into swirling colors, a vortex of green, purple, and gold. His last conscious thought was a faint, bitter regret that he hadn't even finished his beige paste. He awoke to sand in his mouth and the scorching heat of a twin sun's on his face. He scrambled to his feet, eyes wide. Gone were the concrete jungles of his city. Instead, an endless ochre desert stretched to a horizon under a sky of bruised purple and fiery orange. Two suns, one red, one blue, beat down on him. Welcome. New user to Sector Zeta 7, unassigned zone. Initializing Gastronomic System, GS, for Adventurer, Vance, Elias. Congratulations. You have gained a new class, Gastronomist, unassigned. You have gained a new passive skill, Ingredient Identification, Basic. You have gained a new active skill, Basic Cooking, Create Simple Dish. You have gained 10 flavor points. Primary Directive, Survive. Secondary Directive, Experiment. Elias stared at the glowing blue text floating in his vision. Gastronomic System, flavor points. He was a gastronomist, unassigned. This was utterly insane. He poked the sandy ground with his foot. Ingredient detected. Sand, common mineral. Quantity, infinite. Flavor profile, gritty, earthy, abrasive. He blinked. He could see the flavor profile even if he couldn't taste it. This was a cruel joke. He picked up a small, jagged rock. Ingredient detected. Igneous fragment, common mineral. Quantity, limited. Flavor profile, hard, smoky, volcanic. He looked at his hands. They were trembling. This wasn't real. This was some elaborate hallucination brought on by dehydration. He was dying in a desert. Warning, dehydration, severe. Starvation, moderate. Health, 2100. Core stability, low. Hint, seek, water, common liquid, and nutrient-rich edible, common plant, creature, to maintain core stability. Water, Elias croaked, his throat raw. I need water. He wandered aimlessly, the twin suns beating down. He spotted a strange, crystalline plant growing from a crevice in the rock. It shimmered with an internal blue light. He cautiously approached it. Ingredient detected. Desert blossom, uncommon flora. Quantity, limited. Flavor profile, sweet, cooling, succulent. Nutritional value, high. Potential use, water source. Water source. Elias, his desperation overriding caution, snapped off a piece of the desert blossom. It broke with a satisfying crunch and a trickle of cool, clear liquid oozed from the stem. He cautiously licked it. He couldn't taste it, but the system registered it. Water, common liquid, consumed. Dehydration, severe, moderate. Health, +5. He devoured the entire blossom, feeling his strength return, albeit slowly. He had water. He had food. He had a bizarre system that classified everything as an ingredient. Maybe, just maybe, he wasn't dying. Maybe he had simply exchanged one bland, tasteless reality for another, infinitely stranger one. And for a chef who couldn't taste, this was either the ultimate torture or the ultimate, ironic opportunity. With his dehydration now merely moderate, Elias felt a flicker of his old analytical mind returning. He was a chef, a chemist of flavor. Even if he couldn't taste, he understood ingredients. This gastronomic system, in its twisted way, was speaking his language. Primary directive, survive. Secondary directive, experiment. Experiment. That's what a chef did. He looked around the barren desert. What ingredients did he have? Sand, common mineral. Igneous fragment, common mineral. Desert blossom, uncommon flora. Used all but a few leaves, warm air, common gas. System had silently added this. He needed shelter. He needed more sustenance. His basic cooking, create simple dish skill flashed in his mind. Basic cooking, create simple dish. Skill description. Allows the user to combine 2 or 3 common ingredients to create a simple, functional dish. Success depends on ingredient compatibility and flavor points. Mana cost. 5. Mana cost. Elias checked his stats. Adventurer, Vance. Elias class, Gastronomist, unassigned. Health, 25/100. Mana, 10/10, regenerating plots minute. Flavor points, 10 skills. Ingredient identification, basic. Basic cooking, create simple dish. He had 10 mana, enough for 2 basic dishes. He needed to be smart. He remembered his old culinary school motto, waste not, want not. He looked at the sand. Endless, useless sand, unless... His ingredient identification skill hummed. He focused on the sand, not as a mineral, but as a granular base. He focused on the igneous fragment, not as rock, but as a source of structure. And the desert blossom leaves he'd saved, not as food, but as a binding agent? He picked up a handful of sand, a small igneous fragment, and a few crushed desert blossom leaves. He held them in his palm, concentrating. He visualized a simple, sturdy brick. Not a meal, but a structure. Attempting to create dish. Hardened sand brick, structural. Ingredients. Sand, common. Igneous fragment, common. Desert blossom leaf, uncommon. Compatibility, moderate. Flavor profile, earthy, gritty, slightly sweet. Mana cost, 5. Flavor points, bonus, +2 for innovative non-consumable dish. Cooking attempt initiated. A faint shimmer enveloped his hands. The ingredients fused, compressed, and solidified, forming a small, rough, but undeniably solid brick. It hummed with a faint internal energy. Dish created. Hardened sand brick, structural. Quantity, 1. Durability, low. Weight, moderate. Nutritional value, 0. You have gained 5 XP. You have gained 2 flavor points. Total flavor points, 12. He had made a brick. He looked at the brick, then at the vast, empty desert. One brick wasn't a shelter, but it was a start. He tried another recipe. He needed more shelter, and he needed it fast before the sun set. He decided to experiment with light. He found a few dried hollow reeds, brittle and brown. Ingredient detected, dried reed, common flora. Quantity, limited. Flavor profile, woody, dry, bitter. Potential use, fuel, structure. He combined the reed with another igneous fragment, for a spark perhaps, and a tiny bit of sand for cohesion. He tried to imagine a lamp, attempting to create dish, primitive glow reed, light source. Ingredients, dried reed, common, igneous fragment, common, sand, common. Compatibility, low, flavor. Profile, smoky, earthy, bitter. Mana cost, 5. Flavor points penalty, 1 for poor ingredient synergy and a light source. Cooking attempt initiated. Another shimmer. The reed glowed but faintly, producing a flickering, unstable light. It was crude, inefficient. Dish created. Primitive glow reed, light source. Quantity, 1. Luminescence, very low. Durability, fragile. Nutritional value, 0. You have gained 3 XP. You have lost 1 flavor point. Total flavor points, 11. He had light, albeit barely. His mana was now at 0. He had spent his mana on 2 creations, 1 useful, 1 barely. This gastronomic system was far more complex than it seemed. It wasn't just about cooking food. It was about cooking reality. And he, Elias Vance, the chef who couldn't taste, was about to become the universe's most unlikely culinary master. The twin suns began their descent, casting long, bruised shadows across the desert. Elias, with his single hardened sand brick and his flickering primitive glow reed, felt a renewed sense of urgency. He needed shelter, not just for the night, but to establish a base, a place to gather more ingredients and experiment safely. He looked at the vast, featureless desert. He couldn't just cook a house from thin air. He needed a starting point, a place with a defensive advantage. His ingredient identification skill hummed, scanning the distant landscape. Geological anomaly detected. Crimson Mesa, uncommon geological feature. High concentrations of iron ore, uncommon mineral, and volcanic glass, uncommon mineral. Strategic value, high. A mesa, perfect. A defensible, elevated position. He began the arduous trek, dragging his meager supplies. The desert night descended quickly, the air turning frigid. He clung to his glow reed, its faint light doing little to ward off the encroaching darkness. He could feel unseen eyes watching him, a prickling sensation on his neck. The system, for all its culinary metaphors, was a dangerous place. He finally reached the base of the Crimson Mesa just as the last sliver of blue light vanished from the sky. He was exhausted, his health still precariously low. He needed more than just food and water. He needed to regenerate his mana to create more bricks. He found a small sheltered alcove in the mesa wall. He pulled out the few remaining desert blossom leaves. He needed to make a healing dish, something to restore his health and mana. Ingredient detected, crimson dust, common mineral. Quantity, infinite. Flavor profile, metallic, bitter, slightly sweet. Potential use, coloring, trace elements. Ingredient detected, mesa moss, uncommon flora. Quantity, limited. Flavor profile, earthy, nutty, nutrient-rich. Potential use, binder, medicinal. Okay, Elias thought, rubbing his chin. Mesa moss for nutrients, desert blossom for hydration and sweetness, and crimson dust for trace minerals and a kick. This could be a basic restorative broth. He had no cooking utensils, no fire. He simply held the ingredients in his hands, focusing his basic cooking, create simple dish skill. He visualized a warm, nourishing liquid, attempting to create dish, crimson restorative broth, healing. Ingredients, desert blossom leaf, uncommon, mesa moss, uncommon, crimson dust, common. Compatibility, high. Flavor, profile, sweet earthy, metallic finish, warming. Mana cost, 5. Flavor points, bonus, +3 for a well-balanced restorative dish. Cooking attempt initiated. A faint steam rose from his hands. The ingredients dissolved into a small, bubbling bowl of crimson liquid. He couldn't taste it, but the aroma, faint though it was, seemed to hint at warmth and sustenance. He drank it quickly. Dish consumed. Crimson restorative broth, healing. Health +20? I'm gonna apply 5. Hunger, moderate, low. Dehydration, moderate, low. You have gained 10 XP. You have gained 3 flavor points. Total flavor points, 14. Health, 45, 100. Mana, 10, 10. He felt a profound sense of relief. His health was back up, his mana replenished. He had discovered his first true recipe, not for survival, but for thriving. He had turned barren ingredients into life. He felt a surge of his old passion, rekindled by the sheer absurdity of his situation. Now, to build. He started with his hardened sand brick. He used his mana to cook more bricks, carefully placing them to form a low wall across the mouth of his alcove. He gathered more reeds and cooked more primitive glow reeds, creating a ring of flickering light around his makeshift nest. He wasn't just surviving. He was building a home one cooked brick at a time. The desert was his pantry, and reality was his kitchen. Elias awoke to the sound of scratching and a low, guttural growl. He clutched his dull survival knife, his heart pounding. The suns had not yet risen, and the darkness outside his fragile barricade was absolute. His dungeon sense warned him of an immediate threat. Monster detected, crimson desert lurker, predator. Level 5, status, hungry. Threat level, moderate, a level 5 predator. He was level 1. He had no combat skills. His knife was useless. He was trapped. Think, Elias, think. He urged himself. He wasn't a warrior. He was a chef. What did a chef do with a predator? He cooked it. Or at least he used its ingredients. He quickly scanned his inventory, then the immediate environment with his ingredient identification skill. He had more hardened sand bricks, several primitive glow reeds, a few remaining desert blossom leaves, and a good stock of mesa moss. The lurker was outside trying to scratch its way through his flimsy wall. He needed a defensive dish, something to deter or even harm the lurker without direct combat. He remembered the smoky flavor profile of the igneous fragment and the abrasive quality of the sand. Could he combine them to create something noxious? He quickly gathered a handful of sand and a small igneous fragment. He imagined a cloud of irritating dust, a blinding, choking haze, attempting to create dish, blinding dust cloud, defensive. Ingredients: sand, common. Igneous fragment, common. Compatibility, moderate. Flavor profile, abrasive, smoky, choking. Mana cost, 5. Flavor points. Bonus, +2 for inventive defensive dish. Cooking attempt initiated. A puff of gray-brown dust erupted in his hands. It smelled acrid and metallic. He had created a weapon. Dish created. Blinding dust cloud, defensive. Quantity, 1. Effect, causes temporary blindness and respiratory irritation. Duration, short. You have gained 5 XP. You have gained 2 flavor points. Total flavor points, 16. Mana, 5 to 10. The lurker's scratching intensified. It was close to breaking through. He had to be precise. He waited until he heard a section of his wall give way, revealing a glimpse of the lurker's glowing red eyes. "Here you go, big boy," Elias muttered, and tossed the blinding dust cloud directly into the creature's face. The lurker shrieked, a high-pitched, agonized sound. It stumbled back, pawing at its eyes, snorting violently. Crimson Desert Lurker, level 5, affected by blinding dust cloud. Status, blinded, staggered. Duration 15 seconds. It bought him time. But not much. The lurker would recover. He needed a way to truly deter it, or better yet, force it to leave permanently. He couldn't kill it. He needed a culinary solution. He looked at his precious remaining desert blossom leaves. He could make another crimson restorative broth for healing, but that wasn't what he needed. He needed something repulsive, something a predator would avoid. His ingredient identification hummed over the desert blossom leaves. Sweet, cooling, succulent. Predators avoided strong, sweet smells, preferring blood and musk. But what about something truly bitter? He looked at the mesa moss. Its flavor profile was earthy, nutty, not bitter enough. He needed something primal, something toxic. He spotted a strange, obsidian-like fungus growing in the darkest corner of his alcove. He hadn't noticed it before. Ingredient detected: Nightbloom fungus, rare flora, quantity, very limited. Flavor profile: acrid, caustic, intensely bitter. Nutritional value: toxic. Potential use: poison repellent, toxic, intensely bitter. This was it. He combined a small piece of the Nightbloom fungus with a few crushed igneous fragments for a more potent, concentrated form, and a bit of sand to make it spreadable. He envisioned a potent, repulsive paste, attempting to create dish, acrid repellent paste, defensive. Ingredients: Nightbloom fungus, rare, igneous fragment, common, sand, common. Compatibility, high. Flavor profile: intensely bitter, acrid, caustic, unpalatable. Mana cost, 5. Flavor points bonus, +5 for a highly effective repellent. Cooking attempt initiated. A thick, viscous black paste formed in his hands. It reeked of ozone and something indescribably foul. This wasn't food. This was pure, concentrated culinary disgust. Dish created: acrid repellent paste, defensive. Quantity: 1. Effect: causes severe nausea and aversion in creatures sensitive to smell. Duration long. You have gained 15 XP. You have gained 5 flavor points. Total flavor points 21. Mana 0-10. The lurker was recovering, its growls returning. It was about to resume its attack. Elias quickly smeared the acrid repellent paste along the crumbling section of his wall. The lurker lunged, its nose brushing against the paste. It immediately recoiled, gagging and retching, its large body shuddering violently. It let out a whimpering cry, turned and bolted into the desert darkness, not looking back. Crimson Desert Lurker, level 5, is affected by acrid repellent paste. Status: severely nauseated, repelled. Duration: permanent, within proximity. You have survived a level 5 encounter. You have gained 25 XP. You have leveled up. Elias Vance is now level 2. New passive skill: flavor affinity, basic, passive. increases the success rate and flavor point gain for compatible ingredient combinations. Elias sank to the ground, utterly exhausted but triumphant. He was level 2! He had defeated a predator, not with violence but with advanced culinary chemistry. His flavor affinity skill was a clear sign. This system rewarded ingenuity, not just brute force. He was a chef, and this universe was his kitchen waiting for his next recipe. Elias, now level 2 with the invaluable flavor affinity skill, felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had not just survived. He had cooked his way out of death's embrace. His crimson mesa alcove, fortified with hardened sand bricks and ringed by acrid repellent paste, felt like a sanctuary. But a sanctuary was not enough. He needed to grow, to expand his culinary influence. His flavor points total stood at 21, pushing him towards the next tier. He knew from the system messages that higher flavor points unlocked more complex recipes and advanced skills. He needed more ingredients, more experiments. He spent the next few days establishing a routine. He'd scavenge the mesa for iron ore, volcanic glass, and various desert blossoms and mesa moss. He cooked crimson restorative broth to keep his health and mana up, and experimented with small, non-essential dishes to gain XP and flavor points. One morning, while foraging, his ingredient identification picked up something unusual in a deep fissure. A strange, iridescent crystal. Ingredient detected: Aether shard, rare mineral. Quantity: very limited. Flavor profile: pure, energetic, volatile. Potential use: energy source, catalyst. Aether shard, Elias muttered, his eyes widening. This sounded important. A catalyst. He knew catalysts from his culinary past, ingredients that transformed others, unlocking new properties. He also noticed a subtle shift in the air around the shard, a faint distortion. Spatial anomaly detected: micro rift in local reality. Potential entry point for extra-dimensional entity: neutral, hostile. Oh, great, Elias sighed. More problems. He carefully extracted the Aether shard. It hummed in his hand. He hurried back to his mesa nest. He needed to understand this Aether shard. He had enough mana for an experiment. He decided to combine it with a hardened sand brick and a piece of volcanic glass for structural stability and sharpness. He wanted to create a more effective building material, something infused with energy. Attempting to create dish: Aether-infused construction plate, durable. Ingredients: Aether shard, rare. Hardened sand brick, common. Volcanic glass, uncommon. Compatibility: high. Flavor: profile: energetic, smoky earthy. Resonant. Mana cost: 10. Flavor points: bonus, +5 for a high-utility, energy-infused dish. Cooking attempt initiated. A vibrant blue-white light flared in his hands. The ingredients compressed, shimmered, and reformed into a sleek, obsidian-like plate humming with a steady, internal glow. Dish created: Aether-infused construction plate, durable. Quantity: 1. Durability: high. Weight: moderate. Nutritional value: 0. Special property: minor energy emission. You have gained 25 XP. You have gained 5 flavor points. Total flavor points 26. You have leveled up. Elias Vance is now level 3. New passive skill: Elemental Understanding, basic. Passive: increases understanding and affinity for elemental ingredients and recipes. Level 3. And Elemental Understanding. This was perfect for working with things like Aether shards and volcanic glass. He now had the means to build stronger, more energy-efficient structures. His sanctuary was about to become a bastion. As he admired his new creation, the faint distortion he'd noticed earlier intensified. A shimmer in the air solidified into a strange, crystalline being hovering outside his mesa nest. It had multiple eyes and limbs, a being of pure geometric light. Extra-dimensional entity detected: Ethereal Observer, neutral, level 10. Status: curious. Threat level: low, currently passive. Ethereal Observer's objective: analyze Gastronomist Vance. Elias, cooking phenomenon, a level 10 creature, neutral. Elias gripped his knife. This system was full of surprises. An observer, drawn by his cooking. He had unwittingly created a beacon. His cooking wasn't just sustenance or building, it was cosmic architecture. The ethereal observer, level 10, hovered silently outside Elias's alcove, its crystalline eyes fixed on him with unnerving intensity. It was a neutral entity, but a level 10 creature was still a level 10 creature. Elias knew he couldn't fight it. He had to cook for it. His elemental understanding passive skill hummed, giving him a flash of insight. The observer was ethereal. It consumed pure energy, pure essence. Could he cook something for it? Something that wasn't food in the traditional sense, but a concentrated burst of flavor energy? He looked at his precious remaining ether shard. He had one more. He had a few pieces of volcanic glass, smoky, volcanic, and some crimson dust, metallic, bitter. He imagined a dish of pure, distilled elemental power, a flavor explosion that would resonate with an ethereal being. Attempting to create dish, etheric essence orb, elemental, ingredients, ether shard rare, volcanic glass uncommon, crimson dust common. Compatibility high, enhanced by elemental understanding. Flavor profile, pure energy, smoky resonance, metallic aftertaste. Mana cost, 15. Flavor points bonus, +10 for an advanced elemental dish. Cooking attempt initiated. A small, perfectly spherical orb, shimmering with internal lightning, formed in Elias's hands. It pulsed with palpable energy. He couldn't taste it, but he could feel its power. This was no simple meal. Dish created, etheric essence orb, elemental, quantity. 1. Effect, high energy infusion, minor spatial distortion. Nutritional value, NA. You have gained 50 XP. You have gained 10 flavor points. Total flavor points 36 and you have leveled up. Elias Vance is now level 4. New active skill, advanced cooking, create complex dish. New passive skill, spatial awareness, basic, passive. Grants minor perception of spatial anomalies and dimensional shifts. Level 4. And advanced cooking. This was a game changer. He could now combine more ingredients, create truly complex dishes, and spatial awareness would be invaluable, especially with that micro-rift nearby. He cautiously approached the ethereal observer, holding out the etheric essence orb. The observer emitted a soft chime, a sound that vibrated in Elias's very bones. It extended a slender, crystalline limb and gently took the orb. The observer absorbed the orb. Its form intensified, glowing brighter, and then it turned to Elias, emitting a series of complex musical chimes. Ethereal observer has consumed etheric essence orb, elemental. Ethereal observer is pleased. It has granted a boon. New resource node discovered, minor etheric vein. Location, deep within Crimson Mesa. Generates ether shards slowly. You have gained 100 XP. A minor etheric vein. Infinite ether shards, albeit slowly. This was incredible. He had just secured a perpetual source of rare, powerful ingredients, simply by cooking a perfect dish for an alien observer. He wasn't just surviving. He was building an economy, a culinary empire. The observer gave one last chime, a sound of farewell, and then dissolved back into the shimmering micro-rift, leaving Elias alone, triumphant and brimming with new ideas. The desert was no longer a prison. It was his pantry, waiting for the next culinary challenge. Elias, now level 4 with advanced cooking and a reliable source of ether shards, felt an intoxicating sense of possibility. He could now create far more complex dishes, combining up to 5 ingredients. His current flavor points total 36 was steadily climbing. He returned to his mesa nest feeling invigorated. His spatial awareness skill gave him a subtle, almost subconscious understanding of the micro-rift near his etheric vein. It felt less like a danger and more like a gateway. He decided to focus on expanding his ingredient base. The desert was useful but limited. He needed variety, sustainability. He needed to plant seeds. But he had no seeds. His ingredient identification skill word. He looked at the vast desert, then at the mesa itself. What fundamental ingredients could be cooked into something entirely new, something biological? He needed a spark of life. He thought about the ether shard, pure energy. He thought about the mesa moss, a simple plant but resilient. He thought about the crimson dust, trace elements, nutrients. And he thought about the warm air and sand, the basic elements of his environment. Could he cook a seed of life? A Genesis ingredient? Attempting to create dish. Primordial seed, life catalyst. Ingredients: Aether shard, rare. Mesa moss, uncommon. Crimson dust, common. Warm air, common. Sand, common. Compatibility, very high, enhanced by elemental understanding and flavor affinity. Flavor profile: vital, growth-inducing, earthy, energetic. Mana cost: 20. Flavor points: bonus, +15 15 for a fundamental, life-generating dish. Cooking attempt initiated. A tiny iridescent speck formed in Elias's hands, pulsing with a faint green glow. It felt alive, radiating a subtle warmth. He had created life. Dish created: primordial seed, life catalyst. Quantity: 1. Effect: can be planted in suitable soil to grow a random basic flora, common. Requires water, common, and sunlight, ambient energy, to grow. You have gained 75 XP. You have gained 15 flavor points. Total flavor points 51. You have leveled up. Elias Vance is now level 5. New passive skill: cultivation affinity, basic. Passive: increases the growth rate and yield of planted flora. Level 5. And cultivation affinity. This was incredible. He had cracked the code of creation itself. He could now generate his own ingredients, moving beyond mere scavenging. He was a farmer, a gardener of existence. He planted the primordial seed in a small patch of sand near his alcove, watered it with some precious desert blossom liquid, and watched. Within minutes, a tiny sprout pushed its way through the sand, growing rapidly under the twin suns. It was a simple desert sprout, common flora, but it was his. New resource node discovered. Desert sprout patch, generates, desert sprout leaves, common flora, slowly. He now had a self-sustaining source of basic plant matter, a foundation for a true farm. He was no longer just cooking for himself. He was cooking for the very ecosystem around him. The desert was his blank canvas, and he, Elias Vance, the chef who couldn't taste, was about to paint it green. Elias, now level 5 with cultivation affinity, oversaw his burgeoning desert sprout patch. It was small, but it represented a monumental shift in his survival strategy. He was no longer reliant on the fickle whims of scavenging. He could create. His flavor points total, at 51, was steadily increasing with each successful recipe, pushing him towards new tiers of culinary power. He used his advanced cooking skill to refine his recipes, experimenting with different combinations of his now more diverse ingredient pool. He could harvest iron ore, volcanic glass, Aether shards from the minor etheric vein, and now, his own desert sprout leaves. One particularly fruitful experiment involved combining iron ore with volcanic glass and an Aether shard to create ether-forged tools, basic. Crude but effective picks and shovels that hummed with energy, making his gathering far more efficient. Dish created, ether-forged pickaxe, basic. Effect, +20% mining speed. You have gained 30 XP. You have gained 8 flavor points. Total flavor points 59. His small mesa nest was slowly transforming into a proper base. With sturdy ether-infused construction plates, forming walls in a small, sheltered garden where more primordial seeds grew into various basic flora. He was not just surviving. He was thriving, bending the very fabric of this reality to his will, one recipe at a time. His spatial awareness basic skill, gained at level 4, began to hum more frequently. The micro-rift near his etheric vein was becoming more active. He could perceive faint echoes of other dimensions, other realities, just beyond the veil. One afternoon, while tending his sprouts, a new system message flashed. Spatial anomaly. Escalating. Large-scale dimensional portal forming. Threat level unknown. Potential entry point for dimensional invaders hostile, or inter-universal travelers neutral hostile. Warning, you're cooking. Signature is drawing attention. Dimensional invaders, Elias muttered, staring at the growing shimmer in the sky above the etheric vein. This was beyond a single level 5 predator. This was a multi-dimensional problem, likely attracted by the sheer audacity of his reality-bending culinary experiments. He had a choice. He could abandon his base, try to hide in the vast desert, and hope to avoid whatever came through the portal. Or he could cook. He looked at his growing garden, his sturdy walls, his ether-forged tools. He had turned a barren rock into a vibrant home. He had defeated a predator with poison paste and fed an alien observer with pure energy. He was a chef who cooked universes. He wouldn't run. He needed a defensive dish, something truly potent, capable of holding back dimensional threats. Something that could turn the desert itself into a weapon. He considered his ingredients: ether shards, pure energy, catalyst, volcanic glass, sharp, structural smoky, iron ore, solid, grounding metallic, nightbloom fungus, toxic, intensely bitter, sand, basic building block, abrasive, desert sprout leaves, vital, binding. He needed to create something that would not just deter, but actively repel or even harm beings from other realities. He needed a dish that screamed, "Do not enter, this kitchen is closed." He needed a cosmic repellent, a barrier of cooked reality. The greatest recipe he would ever create. He, Elias Vance, was at a culinary crossroads, and the fate of his little universe depended on his next dish. The shimmering distortion above Elias's base intensified, growing into a swirling vortex of multicolored light. The dimensional portal was opening. His spatial awareness basic skills screamed warnings, floods of chaotic information about incoming entities. Dimensional portal stable. Incoming entities 3x, void harvester, hostile energy drainer, level 20. Wex, reality bender, hostile, distortion weaver, level 25. Threat level, catastrophic. Recommended action, evade, level 20s and a level 25. Elias mentally cursed. And they're hostile? Evade isn't an option. This is my home. He had to create that cosmic repellent, a dish of pure, concentrated defensive reality. He gathered his chosen ingredients, his hands moving with the precision of a master chef under pressure. Ether shards, rare. For raw energetic output and interdimensional resonance. Nightbloom fungus, rare. For its intensely caustic toxic properties. Amplified. Volcanic glass, uncommon. For sharpness, structural integrity, and the smoky flavor that implied barrier. Iron ore, uncommon. To ground the effect, give it weight and permanence. Sand, common. As the pervasive, foundational element of his current reality, binding it all. He closed his eyes, visualizing the dish not as a food, but as a force field, a protective wall woven from elemental flavors. He pictured it as a shimmering, invisible dome of pure, unpalatable reality. Attempting to create dish, dimensional repulsion field, epic. Ingredients: ether shard, rare. Nightbloom fungus, rare. Volcanic glass, uncommon. Iron ore, uncommon. Sand, common. Compatibility, excellent, enhanced by flavor affinity and elemental understanding. Flavor profile, purely aversive, caustic energetic, absolute rejection. Mana cost, 50, full mana pool. Flavor points, bonus, plus 25 for an epic, reality-altering defensive dish. Cooking attempt initiated. A profound hum vibrated through Elias's entire body as he channeled every ounce of his mana into the creation. The ingredients in his hands dissolved, not into a liquid or solid, but into a swirling vortex of pure energy. It swelled, pulsed, and then erupted outwards, forming a dome of invisible force over his entire mesa base. It didn't shimmer or glow. It simply was. Dish created. Dimensional repulsion field, epic. Quantity, 1. Effect, prevents hostile non-physical entities from entering a designated area. Duration, permanent, until mana upkeep fails or destroyed by sufficient force. Nutritional value, NA. You have gained 150 XP. You have gained 25 flavor points. Total flavor points, 84. You have leveled up. Elias Vance is now level 6. New passive skill. Etheric resonance, basic, passive. Enhances the effectiveness of ether-based dishes and provides minor resistance to energy-draining effects. New active skill. Reality warp. Minor. Active. Allows small, localized alterations to environmental properties. Mana cost 25. Cooldown 60s. Level 6. And reality warp. He could literally alter his surroundings now. And etheric resonance would defend against the void harvesters. Just as the dome solidified, the first void harvester at level 20 phased through the portal. It was a shadowy, amorphous entity with tendrils of pure darkness. It drifted towards Elias's base, its tendrils reaching out. As it touched the invisible barrier, it shrieked, a sound of pure data corruption, and recoiled violently. Its shadowy form flickered, some of its energy seemingly burned away. Void Harvester, level 20, affected by dimensional repulsion field. Status, repelled, damaged. Entity cannot enter. The other two Void Harvesters and the terrifying Reality Bender, level 25, a humanoid figure whose very presence made the air ripple, emerged from the portal. They surged towards the base only to be met by the same invisible caustic wall. The Harvesters recoiled, unable to penetrate. The Reality Bender, however, merely touched the field, its form rippling, and it chuckled, a sound like grinding stone. Clever, it rumbled, its voice echoing in Elias's mind without sound. A cooked barrier. A primitive but potent ward. But reality bends to me, little chef. Not to your seasoning. It began to press against the field, and Elias felt a terrifying strain on his mana. The Reality Bender, level 25, pressed against Elias's dimensional repulsion field, its form shimmering. Elias felt his mana rapidly draining as the barrier struggled to hold. He was pouring every drop of his essence into maintaining the field, dimensional repulsion field integrity, 80%. Mana drain extreme. Current mana, 10 to 60. Warning, field collapse imminent without mana replenishment. Damn it! Elias cursed. He had to think fast. He couldn't just stand there and let his shield fall. He had to take the offensive, even if it was with a cooking utensil. He looked at the Reality Bender. It was trying to bend the reality of his field, to unravel its culinary logic. It was strong, but perhaps it wasn't immune to flavor. He still had his ether-forged pickaxe. It hummed with pure energy. He looked at the Nightbloom fungus in his inventory. Intensely bitter, caustic. He needed to create something that would disrupt the Reality Bender's concentration, hit it with a flavor so utterly alien and repulsive that it couldn't maintain its focus. He imagined a projectile, a concentrated sphere of pure culinary disgust, launched with the energy of ether, attempting to create dish, etheric disgust sphere, disruptive. Ingredients: ether shard, rare. Nightbloom fungus, rare. Volcanic glass, uncommon. Compatibility, high. Flavor profile, volatile, intense disgust. Mentally corrosive. Mana cost, 20. Flavor points, bonus, plus 10 for a targeted disruptive offensive dish. Cooking attempt initiated. A small black sphere, crackling with foul-smelling ethereal energy, formed in his hands. It looked like a miniature black hole of pure revulsion. Dish created. Etheric disgust sphere, disruptive. Quantity, 1. Effect, causes severe mental disorientation and physical nausea in target. Damage, low, duration, moderate. You have gained 50 XP. You have gained 10 flavor points. Total flavor points 94. Mana 40-60. He immediately tossed the etheric disgust sphere at the Reality Bender. The entity, focused on dissolving the repulsion field, barely noticed the incoming projectile until it hit. The sphere splattered across the Reality Bender's shimmering form. The entity shrieked, a sound of pure agony. Its form flickered violently, its concentration broken. The pressure on Elias's dimensional repulsion field immediately lessened. Reality Bender, level 25, affected by etheric disgust sphere. Status, disoriented, nauseated. Spellcasting interrupt. Dimensional repulsion field integrity, 90%. Mana drain, moderate. Current mana, 35-60. That's it. Elias thought, a desperate plan forming. He couldn't kill it, but he could distract it, debuff it. He needed to make it so nauseated, so disoriented that it couldn't function. And he needed to protect his mana. He used his newly acquired Reality Warp minor skill. He looked at the ground just outside his field, where the reality bender was staggering, and envisioned it becoming a sucking bog. Attempting to use reality warp, minor. Mana cost 25. Reality warp, minor, activated. Local terrain altered, hardened sand, mesa mud, slowing. Mana 1060. The ground beneath the reality bender's feet turned to thick, clinging mud, further slowing its movements and deepening its disorientation. The void harvesters, unable to enter, zipped frantically around the outside of the field, trying to find a weakness. Elias quickly cooked another etheric disgust sphere, then another, hurling them at the reality bender. He focused on keeping it disoriented, unable to cast spells or penetrate his field. He was fighting a level 25 cosmic entity with gourmet gross-out tactics, and it was glorious. Elias, now rapidly cycling through his mana to create etheric disgust spheres and strategically deploying reality warp, minor, to create more treacherous mud traps, waged a culinary war against the reality bender, level 25, and its void harvesters, level 20. The reality bender, thoroughly disoriented and struggling in the mud, was unable to maintain its powerful reality-bending spells. Its form flickered, weakened by the constant barrage of repulsive energy. The void harvesters, unable to breach the dimensional repulsion field and constantly repelled, slowly began to lose cohesion, their shadowy forms thinning as they strained against the barrier. Reality bender, level 25. Health, 30%. Status, severely disoriented, nauseated, immobilized. Threat level, low. Void Harvester, X3, level 20. Health, 50%. Status, repelled, damaged, retreating, impending. They're breaking! Elias thought, a surge of adrenaline pushing through his exhaustion. He had them on the ropes. He needed one final decisive dish, something to banish them entirely, to seal the portal. He looked at his ingredients. He still had a few Aether shards, Nightbloom fungus, one volcanic glass, iron ore, and plenty of sand and desert sprout leaves. He needed a dish that would affect the portal itself, not just the creatures. A dish that said, "This universe is closed for business." He needed to cook a lock, a dimensional lock. He focused his intent on the dimensional portal itself, envisioning it as a dish, a tear in the fabric of existence that could be mended with the right recipe. He thought about grounding it with iron ore, sealing it with volcanic glass, filling it with the caustic repulsion of Nightbloom fungus, and powering it with Aether shards, all bound by the very sand of his reality. Attempting to create dish, dimensional sealant, cosmic. Ingredients: Aether shard, rare; Nightbloom fungus, rare; volcanic glass, uncommon; iron ore, uncommon; sand, common. Compatibility, perfect, enhanced by flavor affinity, elemental understanding, and etheric resonance. Flavor profile, absolute closure, irreversible sealing, finality. Mana cost 50, full mana pool. Flavor points, bonus, +50 for a cosmic portal sealing dish. Cooking attempt initiated. A single fist-sized obsidian-like stone radiating a silent, profound power formed in Elias's hands. It felt impossibly heavy, a miniature black hole of culinary finality. This wasn't just a dish. It was a fundamental law. Dish created, dimensional sealant, cosmic. Quantity, 1. Effect, permanently seals a single dimensional portal. Cannot be bypassed by non-cosmic entities. You have gained 300 XP. You have gained 50 flavor points. Total flavor points 144, you have leveled up. Elias Vance is now level 7. New passive skill toward Cosmic Palette, basic. Passive increases the ability to perceive and understand universal level ingredients and concepts. Grants minor resistance to dimensional warping. New active skill, Universal Condiment, minor. Active. Allows the user to apply a minor temporary universal modifier, e.g., enhance gravity, dull sound to a small area. Mana cost, 30. Cooldown, 120s. Level 7. And Cosmic Palette and Universal Condiment. He was no longer just a chef. He was a cosmic force of nature. He had a literal flavor for the universe. He hurled the dimensional sealant cosmic directly into the swirling portal. It vanished into the vortex. The portal, which had been fluctuating wildly, suddenly shuddered, then collapsed in on itself, not with an explosion, but with an eerie, profound silence. It was gone. Permanently. The reality bender, suddenly cut off from its home dimension, froze. Its form, no longer sustained by its connection to its reality, began to pixelate, to dissolve into raw data. The three void harvesters shrieked in unison, their forms unraveling even faster, consumed by the sheer ontological shock of being severed. Dimensional portal sealed. Reality bender level 25 defeated. Dimensional severance. Void harvester X3 level 20 defeated. Dimensional severance. You have gained 1000 XP. You have leveled up. Elias Vance is now level 8. New passive skill, Universal Pantry, Basic, Passive, grants access to a small, interdimensional storage space for cooked dishes. New active skill, Flavor Manifestation, Minor. Active, allows the user to temporarily manifest a physical property based on a flavor profile, e.g., Sticky Sweetness, Hearty Earth. Mana cost, 30. Cooldown 90s. Elias, now level 8, collapsed, utterly spent. But he had won. He had sealed a dimensional portal and defeated cosmic invaders using nothing but his cooking. He was no longer a culinary dropout. He was a universal chef. Elias Vance, level 8, gazed at the empty sky where the dimensional portal had once raged. His base, once a desperate shelter, was now a thriving hub of creation. His desert sprout patch had expanded into a vibrant mesa oasis minor, teeming with various basic flora, and even a few uncommon flora he'd coaxed into existence with primordial seeds. The minor etheric vein now produced ether shards at a steady rate, enough for his increasingly complex experiments. His universal pantry basic skill had manifested as a small, shimmering pocket dimension where he could store his cooked creations, from healing broths to repulsion fields. His flavor manifestation minor skill was a joy to use, allowing him to cook up hardy earth to reinforce his walls or sticky sweetness to trap small, annoying desert pests. His flavor points total stood at 144, rapidly approaching the next monumental tier. He had defeated cosmic threats, built a sanctuary from nothing, and proven that the ultimate form of creation wasn't brute force, but the perfect recipe. But the silence after the battle was profound. He was alone again. He had built his world, defended it. But what was next? Was he just to keep cooking, keep expanding in an endless cycle? He was a chef, and a chef needed diners. A chef needed an audience. A chef needed purpose. He looked at the vast empty desert, then up at the twin suns. This entire sector was still unassigned zone, a blank slate. And he, Elias Vance, had the skills to paint it. He thought about the initial system message. Primary directive, survive. Secondary directive, experiment. He had done both. But there was something else. A grander purpose. He had just created a dimensional sealant, cosmic. He had generated primordial seeds. He possessed reality warp, minor, and universal condiment, minor. He had a cosmic palate. He wasn't just cooking in a universe. He was cooking a universe. He looked at the limitless sand, the endless sky. What if he wasn't just meant to cook dishes, but to cook entire ecosystems? What if his ultimate recipe wasn't a meal, but a world? He stood at the edge of his mesa, the warm desert wind blowing through his hair. He closed his eyes, his cosmic palate extending, feeling the raw, untamed elements of his sector. He envisioned a towering mountain range of hardy earth, rivers of cooling sweetness, forests of vital growth, and skies filled with pure energy. He began to gather his ingredients, not physically but conceptually. He reached into the vastness of the unassigned zone, attempting to create dish, terrestrial genesis, minor planet. Ingredients, unassigned sector raw material, infinite. Ether shard, rare, X100. Primordial seed, life catalyst, X50. Water, common liquid, X1000. Sunlight, ambient energy, X500. Various elemental concepts, cosmic, X5. Compatibility, unprecedented. Flavor, profile, creation, vitality, elemental harmony, boundless potential. Mana cost, all available mana, current, 80/80. Flavor points, bonus, buy 500 for a foundational world-creating dish. Cooking attempt initiated. A profound ancient hum filled the air. Elias felt a connection to something vast, something primordial. He poured every ounce of his being, every point of mana, every shred of flavor points into this ultimate recipe. The desert around him rippled, shimmered, and then began to transform. Dish created. Terrestrial genesis, minor planet. Quantity, 1. Effect, instantiates a nascent, habitable minor planet within the unassigned sector. Population, flora and fauna, basic. Atmosphere, breathable. Features, mountains, oceans, forests, deserts. You have gained 5,000 XP. You have gained 500 flavor points. Total flavor points, 644. You have leveled up X10. Elias Vance is now level 18. New passive skill. God-Tier Gastronomist, legendary. Passive. All cooking attempts gain a massive bonus to success and flavor points. Allows perception and manipulation of cosmic-level ingredients. New active skill. Universal menu, epic. Active. Access to a vast menu of pre-designed planetary features, life forms, and cosmic phenomena. Mana cost, variable. New passive skill, Reality Architect, legendary. Passive. Grants unparalleled control over environmental manipulation and creation. You are now the designated steward of Sector Zeta 7. Elias Vance stood, utterly drained, but gazing out at a sight that brought tears to his eyes, tears he couldn't even taste. The barren desert was gone. In its place, a vibrant, verdant landscape stretched to a distant, sparkling ocean under the familiar twin suns. Towering, snow-capped mountains scraped a blue sky, and lush forests swayed in a gentle breeze. Animals newly cooked into existence roamed the plains. He had cooked a planet. He, the chef who couldn't taste, had created a world. His culinary journey had just begun, and this universe, a sprawling, infinite kitchen, was waiting for its master chef. He was Elias Vance, the God-Tier Gastronomist, the Reality Architect, and the recipe for a universe was finally complete.